What's up, podcast? Welcome to Press Sports Realtalk, powered by 5 Knock Thermal. Does your season start in cold weather? Stay warm all game long with baseball's first fleece-lined pants. Superior quality and made in the USA. 5 Knock Thermal, the fit you want, the warmth you need. I'm Drew Williams, and I'm joined by my co-founder Conrad Cornell. And in this podcast, we'll be bringing on premier athletes to tell their stories and give you all some valuable insight. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. The podcast is brought to you by the Press Sports app. Join the community today and download the app. We hope you enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to episode number 4 of Press Sports Real Talk. I'm here with my co-founder Drew Williams and a special guest we have on today. You guys probably know him. He was drafted by the Red Sox out of high school, but ended up attending Georgia Tech, then got drafted by the Rangers and played 14 seasons in the major leagues. He's in town a lot with Georgia Tech, but we're pumped to have him on the show. Welcome, Mark Teixeira.
How's it going, Conrad? Drew, how you guys doing?
Great, man. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate you coming on.
Good to be here.
So, as you know, we got a lot of high school baseball players listening to this podcast, some of them with dreams to play in college, some of them already with college offers, some of them with a lot of college offers committed with hopes of playing the pros. Can you talk to us a little bit about the transitional periods during your career and the major adjustments you had to make from high school to college, college to pro?
Yeah, I mean, the first adjustment you talked about is high school to college. And I mean, listen, when you're a stud in high school and you're hitting 500 and everyone's telling you how good you are, that's great. And you go to the ACC, a place like Georgia Tech, and I realize everyone on the team is like that, right? I mean, every player that I was with at Georgia Tech was a stud in their own right, you know, and for me to be able to go in there and kind of humble myself and realize that, hey, I have to get better. Like, that's the adjustment, is I know I have to get better. These guys are bigger than me. They're stronger than me, faster than me. And, you know, putting in the time in the weight room, understanding that, you know, nothing's given to you. I mean, high school is easy compared to big time college baseball. And so that adjustment period, it took me all fall of my freshman year and probably the first month of the season, you know, in the spring, for me to realize what needed to be done to excel at the college level, because you know, that's a big jump. So that's the first jump, and I think the second jump is very similar in that you go to the pros and everyone you're playing with is a stud, and so you get to a certain level in college, you're playing well, you get drafted, you think you're on top of the world, and you sign up and you go see all these guys, and you're like, oh my goodness. And it's not just college players. You have all the high school kids coming in, you have international kids coming in. And so it's a much bigger talent pool. And you just have to continue to step up your game, keep getting better every single day, because if you don't, there are way too many talented players to pass you.
Yeah, man, 100%. And I've heard you talk on a number of different shows and on ESPN, and one thing that we're really big on is development in the weight room and getting these kids to upload weightlifting footage to their profiles. Can you talk a little bit about how that helped you in your career and the benefits you think come with spending a lot of time training your body to maximize your potential?
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, there are certain things that you can't control. I can't control how tall I am. I really can't control my eyesight and my eye-hand coordination. There are certain guys that are other level eye-hand coordination. Chipper Jones was the best bat-to-ball guy I ever played with in my career. He wasn't the best athlete. I mean, Chipper was an elite athlete, but guys were faster than him, guys were stronger than him. But what you can't control is the amount of work you put in the weight room. And so if you do need to gain, you know, some miles per hour on your fastball, if you need to gain some bat speed, if you need to get faster, if your footwork needs to get better around the infield or the outfield or whatever position you might play, those are things that you can control. You can't control your God-given ability, but you get into that weight room, you can be number one. Like, you can outlift everybody in that weight room by just, you know, pure desire and hard work. And I think that's something that every young player, if you're in high school right now, you have to realize that you need to get into the best shape that you can possibly be, and you need to do everything that's in your control in that weight room.
I think you're on point with that. And another thing too is that's in your control. You have the ability to go lift 7 times a week if you want to, if you're willing to. Something that's not in control is when you get out on that field and you're dreaming all day about getting up your first at bat and stroking a double in the gap. But when you strike out on 3 pitches, when this game gets away from you, and can you talk to us about as the game progresses, so does the speed at which it's played. Can you talk to us about handling that? Increase in game speed, increase in pressure, and things that you maybe did to compartmentalize failure, to move on, to forget about, stuff, and keep a stable mindset throughout the whole game.
Yeah, you make a good point about slowing the game down, and I think the best way to slow the game down is to simplify the game. And so, in my head, if I'm in the box at the plate, and in my head I'm thinking about the score, the amount of guys on base, who's in the stands. There might be some scouts. If I have a couple good games, I might get drafted. If you're thinking about all that stuff, your mind gets filled up with things that aren't helping you in the box, and the game speeds up on you. If you take it back to the most simple thing to do in baseball is see the ball and hit the ball. And that is, yeah, I don't need to write a 400-page book on the art of hitting, but if you swing at strikes, you are going to be way ahead of the game than anybody else. And then you just talk about timing and you talk about, making sure that you're giving your A swing. But for me, I always try to simplify the game, and that's what slowed it down.
And Mark just brought up a good point about timing. And I think, a lot of players get caught up in watching the game happen. But if you want to get the best results, I feel like you really have to be paying attention to the game the whole time. You can be working on timing from the dugout. The best players are finding ways to get better, figuring out if a pitcher's tipping pitches and different stuff like that, and just being 100% locked in the whole game, flushing, what didn't go your way, I guess.
Yeah, and you make a good point about kind of staying in the game, staying focused. And I think one of the things that helped me was trying to be early. Like if you're early in the box, you can always take your time and let that ball get to you. If you're late, you almost have zero shot. I mean, there's only two things you can do when you're late in the box. That's to spin out of it and maybe hook a ball down the line, or get jammed and hit a nice little blooper over the shortstop's head, get that Texas leaguer. But if you're early, I can easily let the ball get back a little bit. I used to always talk to Rudy Jaramillo, my first hitting coach with the Texas Rangers. And if I was struggling with my timing, 90% of the time is because I was late. And that's what I think most players need to realize, is that if I can make sure that I'm early, everything else sets into place after that.
Hey guys, real quick, just a reminder, this podcast is brought to you by 5 Knock Thermal. These pants are the real deal, man. We tried them on and absolutely love them. I wish they were around for me back when I was playing at Mercer, and you guys should get yourself a pair.
The pants are designed to keep you warm when temperatures fall below Mother Nature's Mendoza line. The pants are lined with a soft, lightweight, technical fleece designed to retain warmth, wick moisture, and stretch so you don't lose a step. The pants have been temperature tested against a leading brand of cold gear leggings and proven to keep you warmer. Anyone who plays in cold weather should have a pair of these in their locker. Limited release for the 2020 season. Act now and use code CAPITALPRESS20 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Customization and team ordering is also available. Made in the USA. 5 Knock Thermal, the fit you want, the warmth you need.
But I really like what we just kind of talked about there, of controlling what you can control outside of the field, getting everything, 100% every day into what you can control, and being able to compartmentalize the game as it's actually happening. I guess we can kind of move on from that and talk a little bit about your career. You achieved what we all as players dreamed of our whole lives. What can you talk about what that was like to be a New York Yankee, what that was like to play for the Atlanta Braves, and how that has kind of transformed into your business career after?
Yeah, I mean,
baseball?
I think first of all, I'm just blessed. I mean, God gave me the ability to play baseball, and I think more than anything, just to hit, because there's a lot of really sexy athletes on the field, and you look at them, you go, wow, look at that speed, look at that arm strength, look at his fastball on the gun. if you can't hit as a baseball player, you're not going to go very far. And so I think God gave me that ability. I wasn't the fastest guy on the field, but I'm just thankful for that God-given talent. And then I just wanted to get the most out of it, right? I mean, there's not every kid in the world says he wants to be X, Y, and Z. Not many people actually get to do it. So, luck has a lot to do with it. God-given ability has a lot to do with it. But, like we talked about earlier, what I could control is my effort. I could control my focus. I could control signing up for the extra work on the batting cage sheet. I could sign up for, early work at first base. I mean, I was a natural shortstop in high school, moved to third base for college, and then moved to first base in the big leagues. Like, that was a lot of work you had to put in to make sure that I could actually perform at the big league level. So, I look back at my career. It was tough. It was grinding, but it was a lot of fun. And I think as a hitter, you fail a lot, but when you succeed in Yankee Stadium in the World Series or in an All-Star game, there's nothing better.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Mark. And, I think that's one thing a lot of these athletes need to kind of realize. Just be grateful for whatever you have right now. I mean, even in the real life, I mean, a lot of people, they look at the negatives more than the positives. And, that'll get you down, and you really don't want to get like that.
Yeah, and Drew, I think one thing that I always thought, and I try to tell teammates, whether it was in high school or college, even in the pros, is if at the end of my career, if I don't make it, if I don't have the career that I wanted, whether it wasn't making the big leagues or not having a long career or whatever it might be, it wasn't because I didn't put the effort in. It wasn't because I didn't focus. It wasn't because I didn't sacrifice. So at the end of anything, whether it's in baseball or whether it's in life, whatever job that you're chasing, if you don't make it because of outside circumstances or just, the talent wasn't there, you can accept that. But you can't accept having, an amazing talent and not getting the most of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, back to when you were talking about, the transition, going to high school to college, college to pro, the difference in talent, you could say, in college and in the pros is very minimal. But what separates the really good from the great is that work ethic and being grateful for what they have and having no regret at the end of the day.
You're exactly right. And the easiest parallel that I can make is pitchers that throw 100 miles an hour and have nasty breaking stuff but can't throw a strike.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, congratulations, you throw 100. You have a curveball that just completely drops off the table. But if you can't throw a strike, you're not going to make it. And I think that's where, like you said, talent is everywhere. It's what you're going to do with that talent and how you're going to focus that talent that gets you to the next level.
Yeah, because, I mean, the MLB players, they can hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
There's no doubt. I mean, I think once you're in the big leagues, it's not a matter of can you succeed? It's how often you can succeed. You don't make it that far without an insane amount of talent and without success your entire life. But can I succeed 25 to 30% of the time? That's what keeps me in the big leagues.
And you said you played shortstop and third base before first base. Is that what you contribute a lot of your success at first base with your glove?
Absolutely. I always kind of joked around to people. I was a shortstop that played first base. Now, what happened was I entered freshman year of high school at 6 feet tall, 150 pounds. By the time I left, I was 6'3", 210. Wow. And so I grew so much that I went from being kind of average speed, good footwork at shortstop to saying, you're too big, move over to third base your senior year of high school. And then I went from 210 in high school to about 225 in college, just through weight room and growing up and getting older. And so at 6'3", 225 with average to below average footwork at third base, I was a perfect candidate to move to first, and I loved it.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So I want to give kind of the audience a little bit of context about how we were introduced. Mark was the first pitch banquet speaker at Mercer University my senior year, and I've told Drew this story a lot, and I guess he probably has some questions.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, I gotta dive into this. Conrad's told me about the whole silk jockstrap and letter explaining the app to you, and how we wanted to connect. And because we heard, I think Conrad told me he heard on the Pardon My Take podcast something about that. So I just gotta hear the story from you.
Yeah, so the backstory on the Pardon My Take podcast was basically like, as an athlete, like, do you take your athleticism into the other parts of your life and like what you wear and what you do? And I basically said absolutely. I wear a jockstrap when I play golf or play tennis or like am hiking or anything, because if you really think about, you know, what athletes go through and how hot they get and just how uncomfortable they get. Why not be comfortable, man? Why not have a beautiful, breathable jockstrap while you're out there? We had some fun with that on the Pardon My Take podcast, and I'm sure a lot of your kids, high school and college kids, listen to. But what I love about Conrad is that he kind of took that to the next level, and he was bold enough to give me a package to get my attention. And this is, to me, this is entrepreneurship at its best. Is like you take an opportunity to meet somebody or you know, whatever, make a name for yourself. You grab it by the horns. And Conrad gave me a nice thank you gift for speaking at the Mercer banquet. Got me a brand new jockstrap and said, you know, sent me his email and said, I'm working on an app. I'd love to see if you could help me out. So I was in.
That's awesome. And was the jockstrap, is it kind of a superstition kind of thing also?
No, your comfort, man. It is all about practical comfort.
Gotcha. Yeah, I respect that. Yeah, I respect that.
All right, well, let's move into the lightning round. I think Drew threw a list of questions together. So let's just answer them quick and
let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Let's get after Mark. Okay, so let's start with, what's your favorite ballpark food?
Soft pretzel.
Nice. Best round of golf and where?
I've been to Augusta National 4 times, and each time I'm there, it's my favorite round of golf ever.
That makes sense. Is it wrong for a vegetarian to eat animal crackers?
Not at all.
Next bucket list traveling destination?
Ooh, probably African safari.
I like that. What's your favorite ballpark to play in?
Outside of Yankee Stadium, it was Safeco in Seattle.
Do you believe in luck?
Yes.
Would you go to a movie alone?
Yes.
What baseball player did you look up to as a kid?
Don Mattingly.
Do you like watching yourself on TV?
As long as I'm successful. I don't like watching myself strike out.
That's a tough one, yeah. And last one.
What about watching yourself on TV as an announcer, broadcaster?
If it's a good conversation, there's a lot of really good conversations I have with, you know, Carl Ravitch and Tim Kirchin, or, you know, if I'm on a certain show that's a really good back and forth, I'll watch it again just to see how I answered certain questions and if I would change anything. But yeah, I mean, just kind of like the normal everyday, you know, highlights. I'm not going to watch myself do that.
If you were like on watching MLB Network and you just came on, would you keep it on the channel and watch and see how you did, or?
Yeah, if I was on ESPN or MLB Network and then they're showing kind of highlights of me, it's probably good highlights. So I would most likely stay on that channel.
Okay, all right. And then last one, if there's one rule the MLB should change, what is it?
Wow.
It's tough.
Good question. You know what? I think they need to add the DH in the National League. Too many pitchers are getting hurt, and it's too much of a weird advantage for certain teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Did you ever play DH also, Mark?
I DH now and then. You know, every now and then. I when I was healthy, I mean, I went, you know, 10 straight years playing 150 games basically, and so I kind of like the DH day every now and then.
Yeah, understood. I mean, just kind of a off-topic question, but what was the kind of different mindset as a DH rather than someone in the field? I mean, what are you thinking about when you're in the dugout when everyone's out in the field and you're just kind of watching?
Yeah, there's two ways to go about it. I mean, you either need to really lock in and kind of be a pitch pitch by pitch and kind of make sure that your mind doesn't wander, or you need to, it's a totally different thing. You need to figure out something else to do. Like there were certain days I would go and work out. There were certain days that I'm like, okay, I'm going to stretch in between every at bat. There's certain days, okay, I'm going to take extra batting practice during the at bat. So depending on who you were, guys whose minds would wander needed to lock into the game. But guys that just kind of wanted to switch up their routine and do something different actually had to figure out things to keep themselves busy.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard this from some players, they enjoy playing in the field because it's just kind of what they've been doing their whole lives, and when they get put in the DH, it's kind of a whole different thing, and it's kind of an adjustment in a way.
There's definitely an adjustment period. I enjoy DHing. I'd actually like to see what my career stats were DHing. I enjoyed it, but from a production standpoint, I couldn't tell you if I was better or worse as a DH.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, we really appreciate your time and you being willing to come on, especially this early in the podcast. Thank you so much. And Drew, you got anything?
No, that's about it. I appreciate it, Mark, and it was a pleasure growing up watching you. It was really cool. Connor and I are big Braves fans, so back in 2007, it was pretty cool seeing you play at Turner Field.
Man, I loved 07, 08 with the Braves. Wish I had more time there. Thanks a lot, guys. It was fun.